What do real estate agents actually do? So I came across an article this week on RamseySolutions.com that I thought was
Ramsey
interesting.
Solutions is like
Yes.
Dave Ramsey.
Yeah, it's his website.
Okay.
It's a blog, and it has all kinds of real estate
It's like
blogs,
it's,
some for consumers, like home buyers and sellers, some for agents like us. But anyway, I came across an article on that website, and I thought it was interesting because we get a lot of questions from people online who are thinking about getting into the business or who are just curious. I mean, I feel like a lot of people are just interested in real estate nowadays. There's a lot of shows about real estate, and it's just something people want to know about.
The shows
so
get
we
me.
get Yes, we get a lot of questions asking, what does an average day look like as realtors? What do we actually do? So I thought it would be fun to read this article called What Do Real Estate Agents Actually Do? And just kind of react to it, I guess, and just talk about if we agree, just go down the list of what they said and talk about, is that true?
That's
Is it not true? Because a lot of these things, I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out. And this is, of course, just based off of our personal experiences. And before we get into it, though, if you are new here, welcome. My name's Mariah.
And I'm Spenc.
And we are a husband and wife real estate team, a top producing husband and wife real estate team here in Oregon. And we make videos on here every week talking about all things real estate related. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't already and hit the notification bell. Okay, so first there's a list of what buyers agents do, and then a list of what agents do for sellers. Okay. So let's get it. Okay.
There could be some things I don't even do, which is scary.
Yeah, or things that we do that aren't on the list.
Maybe I'm gonna get better today.
Totally. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Well,
I'm having my notes out, so you guys better too. Honestly.
Okay. Thing number one that buyers agents do: they help you find the right house.
Duh. Well, the thing is, how do you help a buyer really find their house, though? Are you just using the MLS system and sending them what you think you're going to like? Right. Or are you just signing them up on an automatic property watch and then never touching it again and saying, man, I really hope they send me an address?
Right. That's true. They do help you find the right house. I can say I can't really go through this list without adding something, though, because this isn't on the list, and this is something that we do. I do. I don't know if you do. I do for all of my buyer clients is a home buyer consultation. That was not on the list, but that to me is one of the most important parts of my job because it makes the rest of my job easier.
Are you talking initially?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
That's not on the list, but that's something that I think is very important because it sets the stage for the buyers. It helps give them a proper expectation of what to expect throughout the process, helps give me the best insight to know what is their motivation, what's their timeline, what are they looking for, so we know how to best serve them. It's just super important, and it sets you apart as a professional because a lot of agents might just show up at a house and meet with them, but I want to have that initial consultation. Usually it's over FaceTime. I know. I don't even use Zoom. I'm probably the only agent in 2022 that doesn't. I like FaceTime. Okay.
I've used Zoom just rarely.
Yeah.
I couldn't set up a Zoom appointment, to be honest.
I just had to add that because this is, I think, in order of the process. But that's step number one for me. I had to add that.
That's a great step, though, because, that has helped me tremendously when home buyers, especially out of state, or just someone that calls you up, says, off your own listing. That's usually where I get this scenario is I have a listing, someone calls me on it. Usually that listing's active under contract. Man, they can't buy it. So then I lead into what else can I help you buy? Because I do work that area quite often, and this is my job, and it's absolutely free to you as a buyer's agent.
Yes.
And make sure you let them know using you is free. And to be ornery, be a pest to me as the realtor, because if you're not, then I'm kind of not going to know how to help you.
Right.
If you see an address, text me it. My job is to get back to you as soon as possible, make sure I know your work schedule so I can set up a showing, and that's all part of that consultation, I believe. And actually finding them the right home, like I said, finding it on the MLS rather than just a general property search, for me has been more benefiting. Most of my buyer home sales come through me actually doing unique searches for what I personally think they would want in a home, and they ultimately deal with less showings and more offers because they're actually interested in almost every home we view at that point.
Right. That's good. That's really good. I think that our value as a real estate agent for when it comes to buyers is mainly because if you're not doing this, then your value is like you're a key to open the door. But I think our real value is that we're an advisor and we know what's going on. We've done the process a million times and we're just like a trusted advisor for them throughout the process.
The best thing is when a client says, I'm gonna let you deal with this. Like, you're the professional. And you take the reins. Yeah. And this is what's important to me. Yeah. And I keep that on the task list.
So do we help them find the right house? Yes, but also many times actually, the buyers I work with, they will send me the listing. Yeah. Not that I didn't already send it to them or whatever, but they'll see it some other way or they'll see it on my website, or I will send it to them through my website and then they'll send it to me and be like, hey, I like this. So yes and no, but it's definitely not like the most important job because they can find a house on Zillow. Yeah, their information is going to be super inaccurate because Zillow sucks. But
a lot of time, like what I've noticed is they already have general property searches automatically getting emailed to them through these websites. Yes. And they just don't know how to even take them down. Yeah. So they're getting alerted.
Or they've gone to open houses and they have like 5 different agents sending them alerts. Gosh. So yes. Yeah.
Work with one agent.
Yes. Okay. Number 2, they guide you to make the right offer and negotiate a good price. Yes and no.
Yes and no. Because I want to be full in transparency with my client, and I want what's important to you. And ultimately, if I'm working for you as a buyer's agent, I'm trying to save you money. It's the reverse effect of working with the seller. I'm trying to make you money. Buyers, I'm trying to get a home for less.
However,
and get closing costs paid for, negotiations with inspections. But in markets, you got to be.
But in some markets, your job is to get them under contract.
Yes.
Because you cannot have that mindset.
And that's
like
where
this past year, if you will never get under contract and buy a house, how it was like a year ago.
Get under contract, then start negotiating for the most part.
Yeah. So one thing we would do when we, things obviously have changed in the market, they've slowed down a little. But one thing we would do when things were like extremely hot, like 20 offers hot on every listing.
That was so hard.
One thing we would do is give our buyers honest advice. And then at the end of the day, it's up to them to do what they want with that. I'm not going to tell them what to write. They can write whatever they want on their offer. Like I will write it up for them.
But there comes a point like after like 5 offers.
We tell them, hey, this is what we're seeing on our listings. At least like you're going to need, like for this particular listing, maybe we should, release earnest money, non-refundable or that type of thing. So we do give advice on how to make a right offer and negotiate the price.
Absolutely.
Yes, that is true.
I don't want a buyer though, if you are listening to this channel or even you guys as realtors, to be a dictator. That is not our job. That is not our business. No, it is not my way or the highway. Right. You're being hired by the client. Okay. Right. So we have to listen to our client and really consider what's important to them, and let them possibly fail the first few times and then have that conversation. Okay. We've been doing it your way. This hasn't really been working out. How about we try it maybe a different way if you're comfortable? Right. Some people are, some people aren't. And they're going to be like, it is what it is. Or, I really need a home and I want to get under contract so bad and I'm running out of time. School year starts, and generally time is the factor for a lot of people. And they have timelines. Like they have their home out of state under contract and it's a contingency and they need a home to rebuy. And
that's true.
That's where it is. You got to have that consultation to know that, though.
Yes. And one thing that I will do to help guide my buyers to make the best decision possible when writing an offer or have the best chance is call the listing agent before I write the offer.
Absolutely.
I always do that. That's something I think all, buyer's agents should always do. And just kind of get a feel for, of course, they cannot tell you what the other offers are, but just kind of get a feel for what's important to them. And I hate when buyers will ask like straight up, like, what do I need to offer to get this accepted? Because sometimes, especially when it was like so competitive last year, when there's 20 offers, it's like,
I can't promise you we're going to get accepted.
I can give you my best advice, but we really don't. Nothing would surprise me.
The biggest problem that I had back then when we were receiving 8 to 15 offers, I had a listing of 15 offers. I think that's my record. But the agent that we submitted an offer on, she gave me the rundown, basically said, submit this and we'll have you an accepted offer. I don't know why she basically told me everything, but she did. And it's my job to ask questions, her job to answer them. She answered them. But I tell my client, we submit it like this. They said we're going to get an acceptance. And then the worst thing that can happen next day, we went with another offer. You're in backup offer position. And that would happen from time to time, but it's like an emotional toll for a lot of our clients. So what I've kind of learned is don't shoot yourself in the foot and like say a promise based off of someone else's word. I'm just that guy. I don't like to trust others when it comes to fate, and because the real estate transaction is someone's real life. Their fates are on the line. Their realities are on the line. So I want to make it concrete. Don't spill the beans before it actually happens with an acceptance, stuff like that.
Right. Oh, that's good. Okay. The next thing that they say that real estate agents do is walk you through the paperwork. I mean, yeah. That is our job. I mean, I don't expect you guys to know a contract. Just like when I first got in the business and even in real estate school, I had no idea what a lot of this stuff even meant. Remember, I was a 19-year-old kid and Mariah was 17 in real estate school, and we've never had a real estate transaction for us personally. So it's our job to familiarize ourselves with the contract after so many escrows for 8 years now, going on 8 years. Unbelievable. That's a big feat, right? Yeah.
We know the contract now, and it's pretty black and white to us. But remember, the people you're working with, your clients, whether it's seller or buyer, they don't know the terms or contracts, and they could look at something, misinterpret it, and get really scared. And so your job is to cool them off. Hey, this is what this actually means. Don't really take that, into consideration. For instance, our Oregon sale agreement's written in favor of the buyer, So a lot of my sellers, they'll actually read our offer and say, wait a minute. I'm like, there's really nothing we can do. If they want to back out due to financing, they back out due to financing. Now, in a market like this, is that likely? Very unlikely. People are just excited to get under contract. Yeah. And that's what I mean. We're closing deals and having less and less people backing out once they are in contract.
Definitely. Oh yeah. A lot less. Not like very uncommon. Okay. Yes. And then the next thing that they say that we do for buyers is advise you on the home inspection. Your agent should be able to recommend you a good home inspector and guide you on what to do. Yes. This is so far so on point.
I'm checking the list,
Yes. We do advise. We have an amazing inspector we recommend. And that isn't something that we had when we were new in the business. It took a lot of trial and error. I mean, I worked with so many different inspectors for years, and I really wasn't too focused on like setting out to find that inspector I was going to work with every time. But once I worked with the one that I knew was like my favorite one, I knew, and I was like, all right, this guy's getting all my business from now on. So that's kind of how it worked for me. If you just eventually like keep working with inspectors, eventually you'll find one you like. And then once you find one you like, I think it's important to really stick with them and build a good relationship, like vendor relationship.
And I never really took that into account, but like it really does make a transaction difference. When you're working with a good inspector that you have a good relationship with, I just pull up on the site. Me and my guy, we're like happy to see each other, give each other high fives, hugs, let's do this. And the relationship side, I never really thought was important when it came to a home inspector, but it kind of is. I'm able to call them and they're like, yeah, I'll be out there tomorrow, or yeah, I'll be out there in 2 days. Right. They understand the timeline is important. Right. And the reports too matter. There's some inspectors that I've worked with in the very beginning, especially, they just straight up ruin deals. Yeah. And I'm like, the way that you're conveying your report,
they're scaring the buyer over something that isn't scary, if that makes sense. Yeah. Maybe to show they're a good inspector. I don't know if that's their business model, but it's like it's the conversation, the communication aspect that I had to really find who's good and who's not. Yeah. Who has a pocketbook of a contractor to go to for this repair to be done if it's important to you. That's what our guy does. And we use our inspector on our own home purchases. Yeah. So it's not like we're saying this. And I'm not getting spiffs or anything from them. No. Yeah. This is someone that we genuinely think does a great job and our buyers are happy with. So that I think is a great idea, to find an inspector. Trial and error though. Yes. Trial and error. It's okay if you don't have one yet. And then the last thing that we do for buyers apparently is soothe their nerves when things get tough, whether it's a problem in an appraisal or a hitch in financing. A great agent knows how to keep things moving smoothly. 100%. I'm working a transaction with an agent that does not know how to make things and keep things smoothly, and she's, like I said a little bit earlier,
don't spill the beans on a problem that can be fixed. I've done that so many times in the past, especially in the beginning, because you're like excited.
Yeah.
But like you in a way, like you receive a call or a text from the agent, and then you relay it to your client, and you're like, why did I relay that so early when it could have just been dealt with between the agent and I?
Right.
And
Don't
so you're putting
bring
fear
them into problems that they can't solve anyway. And if you know you're going to solve it, there's no point in, it's not hiding things from them, but don't scare them over something that isn't really even a problem yet. I know what you mean. Yeah. Totally. Is there anything else we do before we get into what we do for sellers as real estate agents? Is there anything else I'm missing about buyers?
No. I think it is really important though to be a counsel. Wear that hat to soothe your client when they're in a moment of need. For me, I do virtual tours. That wasn't on the list, but I show homes in person. But most of my clients are actually not here, and they don't usually see the house until either the final walkthrough or until after it's already closed. Okay. And so I do a lot of videoing the homes and the outside of the home and the street that it's on and the homes nearby to see, that type of thing, which is an
important skill that I think agents, it's important to know if you're going to do that.
Seriously. If you live in a different area and you want to practice that, and maybe you're like a little scared for an out-of-state client, go view a vacant home, do a little virtual tour, upload it however you want to upload it in a link to send to a client, and test it out on yourself.
Seriously, it doesn't have to be perfect. And what I found is the virtual tours that I do, I used to bring my professional camera, and now I do it on my iPhone. And the reason is because it shows, it has a good camera, but it just shows, feel like it's more of like a realistic view of what the home, like it shows it better in a more like realistic light than a professional, like especially if you do like a professional home tour with a professional videographer, it hides, like the house looks so much better. It hides.
That's a great point.
And this doesn't really like cover the flaws, if that makes sense. It just is what it is.
And I have it zoomed out a little bit, so it's given a full.
It's great. It's so great. Okay, so now we're going to talk about what real estate agents do for sellers, and then I think obviously we'll end with what they did.
But I do think that list for buyers is pretty good. It was
pretty on point.
No, I mean there was like 5-6 things. Okay. I think there's a little bit more that a buyer's agent does. Yeah. Like forwarding. Communication with the lending. Oh yeah, they do submit all the documentation with lenders.
To the title company, there's definitely more behind the scene, but that's like a good base.
Yeah, that was a good base.
Yes, what to expect.
And if your office should have this. Like, say you're new to the industry, and you're kind of like in that first transaction, and you want to make sure you're doing the absolute best for your client. Ask your principal broker, hey, can I have like a checkoff list of everything that I'm needing from the listing agreement all the way to the closing table? Can I have a list to check off and make sure I'm filing correctly with our office, communicating with people appropriately, and then, everything else that follows off this list we just said today, and have it on paper right in front of you. Right. I think that could be huge value for you.
Okay. So now what do real estate agents do for sellers? 1, determine a good price.
Oh, yeah. And right now it's more important than ever. Do you agree?
Definitely. Things have changed so fast that we really need to know like exactly what's going on. And it's even hard. I feel like using comps from 6 months ago isn't totally accurate. So yeah, looking at comps, days on market for the comps is super, super important.
And what you really want to do though, I know it's easy when creating a CMA because you just kind of want to get it done too in reality. Really diagnose like the photos. Go through all the photos and take your time and like look at the finishes, look at the texturing, look at the paint, flooring type, countertops, windows. All those things are factors when comparing your potential listing to another that's sold already.
Definitely. Definitely.
I've been guilty of that though. I've been guilty of just skimming over it. Oh, it's good cover photo. Oh, let's just look at 3-bed, 2-bed, or 2-bath, square footage, year built.
Right. I feel like right now it's important to be more thorough with the way that things have changed quickly. Okay. Help with curb appeal and staging.
Yeah. That's been a huge job of mine when going into an initial listing appointment to win the listing. What services can I provide that might be different that I'm paying for, by the way? You as a seller, you're not paying for it. And it is what it is, and it's what I'm doing to get your home sold. And here's statistics as to why staging a home is going to benefit you to make you more money. at this lower commission possibly. So
Right.
you're still saving it. I'm just doing all the work for you.
Right. Drive all marketing efforts.
Yeah. Yeah. And at Berkshire Hathaway, I mean, what's our marketing efforts look like, Mariah?
Well, so for our company, because we pay a little more to be there than other companies where it's like zero fee, we get more. A lot of the marketing is automatic. So it puts it on over 1,000 websites nationwide, globally, and we don't have to go individually to each 1,000 websites.
Right.
We pay for professional photography. We pay for a professional videographer. In a lot of cases, one thing that I think we do that separates other agents as far as marketing listings goes is we do have because we have our YouTube channel that we get relocation buyers from other areas, we do have a pool of people, eyeballs, buyers who are looking at this one particular YouTube channel who are moving here from other areas, and we can tell our sellers, we don't do it with every listing, of course, but if it's the right listing for this, then we can tell our sellers that we can do a tour of your listing and put it on this particular YouTube channel, which it wouldn't be that valuable if it was like 5 years ago when I was doing this and we didn't have those people, but because of the demographic that's looking at this, we actually sell our listings from this. So, and it took obviously time to build up to that point and to get the right subscribers onto this channel. And it's not even like a huge channel, but it has the right people, so it works. So that's that one thing that we do that separates, I think, from other agents.
But that's a simple marketing technique that nobody else is doing. And that's something to elaborate with the seller you're talking about. If you're doing something different in your area that you don't see any other agent doing, talk about it. You know, don't bring it up as like a major bragging point, like I. Right. Say we rather than I. That just usually looks better and sounds better to the ear. But like, we do something different that nobody else does. And this is why potentially, because I can't make empty promises, I just don't do that, we can make you more money. And this is why your home's going to most likely sell at a faster rate at a more higher sales price. Yeah. Does that sound good to you? Or something like that, you know? Totally. That's a easy script you could play, but use that to your benefit. What you're doing differently now than any other agent is so important, because we're living in an era where real estate agents are everywhere. I always say I can throw a penny and hit one. My aunt, my uncle, my cousin's a realtor. I'm like, that's great. Yeah. Interview three agents. And I get it. If you want to work with family's cool. But at least give me a shot. Let me see what we can do here. Yeah. Get your foot in the door in any way.
So this next one is good. Negotiate offers without emotion. So I have a story to go along with this.
Okay.
I had a past client who we sold her home, I don't know how many years ago, 3 maybe. We sold her home in Central Salem about 3 years ago, and then she ended up moving we helped her purchase a lot outside of Salem, and she put a nice manufactured home on the lot. It's like a couple acres, whatever. Beautiful area up in a mountain or on a hill. And she found a buyer. She decided to sell that lot now for sell by owner. And she had a buyer on it. This buyer was selling her home in order to buy her home that she's selling. So it's contingent on the buyer's home selling. She's doing it for sell by owner. She's representing herself. And this is about negotiating without emotion. She becomes so attached to this buyer because, of course, this buyer has a story. She wants to buy the property because she has horses and her horses can't live where she's at, and she's paying so much for boarding and all whatever. Okay. So she's super attached to this person now, to this client who's buying the property. She's very attached emotionally, and the buyer just keeps dragging out. She says she has a seller for her home. Her home isn't, but then the seller finds out the home actually doesn't have an offer. So she's lying to her, and it just keeps getting drug out and drug out and drug out. But she just feels so bad because she's emotionally involved in the transaction. She feels so bad that she wants to stick with this buyer, and she just feels like it's the right thing to do. And I understand when it's the right thing to do. But in this particular instance, this buyer was really hurting the seller. So the seller finally called us and was like, hey, we worked with you 3 years ago. I should have called you in the first place. You guys did a great job for me. I was really happy with you. Can you help me now? And so the moral of the story, though, is that obviously, if someone's trying to sell for sell by owner, that's just one of the many reasons why you don't want to. I mean, obviously, you guys know there's many reasons why you don't want to sell for sell by owner. That is one of the small reasons, but it can get very difficult. You want to have your own legal representation, and the buyer needs their own legal representation. And then there will be no conflict of interests. Like you will be not having your emotions involved, and they will be fighting and negotiating on your behalf. And then the other agent will be fighting on their behalf. So that's just a little example of, that's one thing we do,
huge,
negotiating without emotions.
Well,
yes.
when it's scary though, when you're dealing with clients that have had those stories, because ultimately they have great hearts. They have big hearts. They want to do what's right with people. But scenarially, routinely as well, our clients that are for sale by owner, but have even said they're going to end up listing with us, but then they end up finding their own buyer like 2 weeks before they end up listing, they short themselves so much money. Like they lose. I had this lady lose, oh my gosh, her husband passed away. She had a farm, 3.5, 4 acres, 3 shops on it, and a 1,100 square foot home. She got rid of it for like 400 something thousand when it was worth like 670. And I could not believe it. And she decided to do it on her own. And when I called her, because it was time to list her home that week, she says, I found a buyer, and I already told him I'd sell it to him. I'm like, how much are you selling it for? She gives me that number. I'm like, no, don't do that. Like, can I buy it from you? I said, why didn't you tell me? I would have bought it from you if it was like that, and I just didn't want to make her feel stupid, and that's when it's like a hard scenario, because I'm disappointed I didn't end up listing it, but ultimately it's like I've had this relationship with you, and you go out kind of gypped, you went down the wrong path, and someone in a way, they scammed you.
Yes.
To sell your home to them, and you went off an emotional state, and that's what you don't want to do with the seller. And sometimes it's hard to avoid. When sellers they make their own choices. We're all grown adults.
Right. Okay. Last is reassure you if things get hard. Yes, and then of course they didn't put down scheduling, delivering keys. And then of course for the listing agent, for buyers, I'm doing a final walkthrough today for a buyer. They didn't put that on there. Of course,
setting up escrow.
Yes. There's a lot of more behind the scene things definitely that they didn't touch on. And then the biggest thing they didn't touch on is our number one job, because if we're not doing this, then we're not in business anymore. You can be great at all those things, but going out and getting business.
Yes, going out and getting business.
Yes, whether it's through actively like prospecting or marketing more passively, where they're attracted to you and but however that looks for you, so many ways to do it. We've done full shows talking all about it. So go to our channel and find those. But that's the number one thing they didn't mention. That is, if you're not doing, obviously you're not in business anymore. So
and in a market like this one that's changing, I think it's more important now than ever. Say you have listings lined up, or say you have escrows, but not many listings coming in. You need to keep that pipeline rolling. Inventory is going up slowly. House prices are steady, but there's fear in the market between buyers. So homes are going to start sitting a little bit longer. I don't think house prices are going to drop dramatically ultimately. So we're in a weird market, just to say the least. We still are in that seller's market here in Oregon, especially. Listings are selling. And I don't think I gave you guys the update. I gave the story of I'm going in for a listing appointment down in Mill City, I think it was. And how am I going to win the listing? This was my idea, my philosophy. I was interviewing.
We talked last week about that.
And it was either last week or the week before. I never updated you guys on it. Here we are 2 weeks later. I had the listing appointment. It went awesome. I was in their home for about an hour and a half, and then she even gave me a tour of her new build she just built over the last year. And that's one of my main goals. Always stay in the home for long periods of time and just get to know your sellers and just establish some type of personal relationship with them. So that was made. And then what am I going to do differently than any other agent they're interviewing? I already knew 2 of the agents they were interviewing personally. So I told them, hey, I'm bringing my A game. I'm competitive. I want this listing, and I'm here to win it. The Crawford Bros are here. I have a brother. He was a wrestler at Oregon State, and we just have wrestling in our blood and just that competitive spirit when it comes to athletics. And I openly express that, not to be a mean guy or a guy that's, going to be slimy.
You said I'm here to win.
But I'm here to win, okay, and make you money, okay? So what did I do differently? I ended up staging their whole home. It cost me about $2,000 for a month, and then it cuts in half the next month if it doesn't sell. I staged the home, and here's why. It needed it. I didn't know the home was going to become vacant over the next week before it was listed, and this home, for the value they were wanting, did not make sense based off of what else is available in the area. So on the spot, you get asked the question, what are you going to do to get my home sold? That's every seller's question for the most part. So if you don't have a good answer, because every scenario is different, that's going to make or break your listing appointment. So I give them the rundown. I give them our marketing side. I give us our YouTube channels. I give them the staging option and how it's absolutely free to you guys. And this is what it's going to cost you. I had a net sheet ready to go for them. And this is my sales price. And I stuck with my sales price the whole way through. We ended up listing the home at my sales price, staged the home a week later because it was vacant. They did a fabulous job doing exactly what I told them to do. Thank you, sellers that do that.
Yeah.
2 days later, there was only one showing. They submitted an offer that day. We sat on it for 2 days just to make sure we got through the weekend. No other showings were set up. I had one showing on this property. It's in a rural setting, but if you get a showing, odds are they're going to like this home just because it was beautiful. But are they willing to pay that much? I didn't know. They ended up submitting an offer. 2 days later, we're accepted under contract. Inspections are scheduled this week.
Amazing.
Happy seller, happy life. Staging's done. That expense is gone. But that was the thing that won me the listing, the staging and then our video marketing. I did a full walkthrough of the home and did a tour and promoted the staging company and all that. And I did it directly in front of them just so they could see what I'm doing behind the scenes. And I know no other agent's doing that. So that's our update.
That was great. Yeah,
that's how you win a listing at some points. Some people don't care. They don't care about that stuff. They're like,
Every seller is so different. Well, do you have anything else to add this week?
No, that's it, man.
Okay.
Just keep doing your jobs. And like I said, ask your office, though, for that task list.
Yeah, that's a good
I know
idea.
being a new agent, there's always something that your office can provide for you. And if they're not providing what you need, go directly to your principal broker and say, hey, guys, I need this. I want to be more successful. And nobody's going to deny you benefiting yourself in an office, because ultimately if you have closings, they make money.
Yes. And as usual, we love chatting with you guys in the comments below. Let us know. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree with anything we've said today? I know everyone runs their business so differently in this industry nowadays, especially, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. All right. We'll see you guys next week.